his resignation. He said basically, I talked to him previously. I knew in time for last month's meeting, but he hadn't sent me a formal notice. So I wanted to give him time to maybe
Change his mind.
change his mind. And now he sent me the letter instead.
Too busy with the state.
Yeah, he's finding that the amount of time and commitment he has for the rep job is pretty strong. He's also on another board as well in town, so he said, yeah,
Yeah.
I had to cut my,
Well, he strikes me as a person who wants to do a good job with
Yeah.
what he's doing and spending the appropriate amount of time. So,
and I think he's learned a little bit from the time he's been here, enough to represent some of our ideas. Uh,
Yeah, it was nice to have the short conduit to the
It was.
State.
It was hey, maybe we can do this.
We can invite him back for as a visitor.
So we will have an opening on the planning board that needs to be filled. Thank you for signing up again.
sure.
I hear you were also sworn in today, so you're
Yes, I was.
You're legitimate.
Yeah, I took it very seriously.
Well, as long as you were swearing.
The minute Karen used the word oath, he said I better band my P's and Q's.
There you go. All right. How about we get this meeting started then?
Sounds good.
Roll call. Sarah, Kathy, Jeff, David, me. Jim, you'll be voting. And I'm not sure who we're gonna have as our select board representative next month. Just a reminder that next month is a month where we have to worry about elections of our officers for the planning board. So if anyone wishes to make a change in their status, let me know. I've asked Scott, because he wasn't gonna be here, he said he would be willing to sign up as vice chair, if so offered the opportunity.
I think it's great the way it is.
We'll have an opportunity next month.
Okay, say that. I'll repeat it again then.
Okay.
Okay.
Just in case anybody's thinking about something different, it's like, okay, it's a good time to talk about it. Anyway, first order of business, I know that the agenda has us talking about this.
First, we have to do the minutes.
Minutes. Everybody like the minutes? I have a motion to approve. We'll take minutes here. Dick, what's going on?
Bill, how you doing?
Yeah, good. What's going on? Are you going to be on the Zoom?
I can't seem to get in.
Oh,
I've got the planning board agenda in front of me with the ID, but there's no meeting.
you want to send them a new invite?
Yes.
We'll send you a new invite.
I'll get out. That's,
Is that a deal? Is that deal?
We'll send you a new one by email.
All right, I'm sitting right here with it open.
Okay.
I'm still right at copy.
No problem. Dave's doing it right now.
Okay, thanks.
These things are too much. It's like, says Dick Bennett, and they go, oh, there it is.
We did Tracy.
Yes. I'm still waiting for the anti-gravity machines to be able to drive around.
Oh man, I could use that so often.
Oh, goodness. All right, minutes, we have minutes. Last meeting, do I have a motion to approve the
I
minutes?
already did.
Oh, we had a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're good?
I'm only opposed to the page and a half paragraph.
Ooh,
Break it up maybe, different thoughts and different paragraphs, make it a lot easier to read.
Will do.
I mean, it's, front page is beautiful.
At least it's not a continuing sentence.
I haven't read it that closely yet.
Sure, I will break it up.
Yeah, it's,
breaking up is so hard to do.
Here it comes.
CLP, and then we have the garage.
I'll go back and figure out where I can put breaks in there and make it look easier.
There we go. There he is. And, oh, hey, so you can see a dog, right?
All right,
Hey,
I think I'm in.
welcome. We've approved the minutes from last month's meeting, and that's where we are on the agenda right now. And so I
That's
think
great.
next item on the agenda is public comment, and Hank has chosen not to say anything again. I don't blame him. Okay, well, on the discussion topics, I'm going to reverse the order of the capital improvement plan, whatever a plan is, but, you know. But I think we're gonna have to pan the capital improvements. And the reason we're going to have to do that is as I was prepping for our meeting tonight, I start reading from scratch, you know, here's what you do, this is how you start, these are the things you need to do to start. And one of the things, well, we have a master plan, which is very good. And we have a planning board, which is also good. Those are the first two requirements. The third requirement is for the governing body to authorize a capital improvement program, improvements program.
Select board did.
The legislative body in our town happens to be the town meeting.
How long ago, I mean, if it's already been done once, does it have
To
be done
either
again?
amend or the RSA 476.5
Yes, sir.
says specifically that if you want it done, you're gonna need to do it through a warrant article, and it needs to be authorized by the legislative body of the town, which is the town meeting. And it becomes a legal entity at that point as a result of the warrant article.
Can we do that at the end of the meeting? Because you can have stuff brought up that the last, very last, as long as it doesn't have any money attached to it.
Well, it's just,
I thought it was approved and that we are mandated to update it every 10 years.
Nope.
Of course, we don't do.
no, that's not the way it works. It's not a legal requirement, it's not an update, it is strictly done through the authorization, and the authorization, if we were town council could say, yeah, go ahead and do it, but we're not. So,
So
yeah, if there's some way we can get it,
I don't think so.
manage through, as part of the town meeting, then we're back on again.
Well, it needs to be done.
Can we bring that up at town meeting if we probably didn't make the warrant? But
We,
can we bring it up at the end and say,
I'm
new
hoping.
business?
Well, the reason I'm bringing it up is because right now we don't have an avenue, and what I'm looking for is there some way we can get there from here.
Article 11, any other business, to act upon any other business which may legally come before this meeting.
Yeah, I always thought that was an opening for, anything like this that, didn't get on there, but is kind of critical to the ongoing. So I think it could come up at the end of the meeting. We could ask the moderator, I don't know, if Jerry's going to be the moderator this year?
Yeah,
Why don't we get,
Kathy's shaking her head yes.
He's the official
You heard her head nodding, right?
can I have a picture of that?
I can make faces.
I'm gonna get the camera to turn around, honey. You better watch it.
Uh-oh.
Oh, goodness. Anyway, so, right now, we can talk about it, but, we need to go through that hurdle before we,
Yeah,
That's,
We can plan for it.
yeah,
Just next week.
it is next week. So it's not like we're missing a lot of steps here, but it was like, oh, crap, it's like, without catching it right now, we would have to wait the full year before we could do it.
it is interesting, on the previous capital improvement plan, done in 2009 is the copy that I have. I don't know if that's the last one we did.
Yeah,
Okay. The way we wrote it here in this paragraph, it's the authorization to create one was given at a town meeting in 2002 for the town to do it. And it didn't look like we got any
yeah, that's
warrant
not,
article
that's not the way it works.
so when we updated in 2005, and then we reviewed in 2006, 7, and 8, and then we did 9, we didn't get a warrant article for it to do it in those years.
If you're going, well, you can review it all you want, but if you're going to amend it, or if you're actually going to have a process where you go after people for information,
That's what we did in 2008.
and they weren't authorized properly.
In 2008, they reviewed and updated, and the committee met with various department heads to update the thing. And they never, it was all based on the 2002
Authorization, yeah.
authorization
Yeah.
to create the,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
and we're not raising any money for it.
Correct.
As I understand. I mean, if we get the authorization, we can't raise money at the town meeting without it having been on the warrant and, gone through the budget process and everything. But I think we can get the authorization.
And we also have an increased budget for this year, anticipating the need for, or possible need for capital improvements program.
Okay?
So it's already in the budget, not as a warrant. So I think we're gonna be okay, but we have to get, we have a little bit of a hiccup.
Well, do you want me to warn Jerry that it's coming and then you speak about it after the meeting, at
Yes,
the end? Okay, I'll tell
that
him.
would be great. I also sent a note to Barbara Campbell,
Okay.
copied in her significant other, just in case she was not reading, or one of you's not reading.
That's when I do enough emails during the day, I take a break when I need to.
All right, having said that, it came to our attention through Julie White, I believe, that our voluntary log merger, we have a log merger?
Did I read the long word?
I always wonder what kind of logs we were talking about.
Yeah, it's
Either splicing or.
I think,
Splitting.
Trying to figure out
We're
what
splitting
along
hairs
further
here,
than
folks. We're
203
splitting
is.
hairs.
No, we're not taking care of rabbits.
ooh, this is
The log
bad.
homes in the town are getting together, having a consortium.
That's right.
This is a tough crew,
Hey, minutes and agenda is up for anybody who wants to do it. I'm still looking for somebody.
Oh, just proofread, that's all.
As long as you don't spell crew, C-R-O, and we're good. That's at the Huts. Okay, anyway, apparently we don't meet the requirements of another RSA for the voluntary mergers. And,
That's what this document is.
pardon?
That's right.
Oh, that's what this
This is the RSA.
674.39A, and and Dick, yeah, I don't think you have a copy of this thing, but it says, basically it says that in order for us to do this, we have to make sure a variety of different requirements are met. And our current form doesn't meet all the requirements. So basically what I did was I sent the thing off to Jason Dennis and said, Jason, I read this thing, I looked at our form, and we don't comply, what do we need to do? Some of the stuff that's here versus what we saw as a possible replacement from, this was for the town of Meredith that Julie pulled for us. I asked him if he would comment on that and see if we might be able to just steal somebody else's stuff. And so that's what you have here on this document. And then the other document is the one we actually use currently for ourselves.
There's no representative there this evening.
No selectmen, no.
No. You're talking about a select person?
Or just somebody to represent.
No. This is just our form, this isn't an actual lot merger. We're looking at the format for the form. So that in the future we can do this correctly according to the requirements. So if we could maybe just talk this through, that would be good, and then we can get this squared away. The other part that's out there is the fees, and they, Julie was asking about the fee structure that we currently have. And right now, the only charge we have, if you look up in the online, is a $36 charge. And I don't know that we specified that we have the charges for any of the other things that we do. And it's not clear to me, the form, whether or not we actually do the, we do a filing fee is $12.63, and I don't know what the current filing fee requirements are. Dick, you can, the thing we're looking at right now is, I'll try to get this in focus.
No,
hang
it's
on.
not, because everything is, took everything out. Everything is in the back.
Cool. I can read it if it's backed by you.
Yeah, what I was gonna say, it's on the Town of Jackson website,
Okay, yeah, yeah,
and it's this form, it's the voluntary lot merger form,
yeah.
if you wanna look that up. And it's just a basic format, and I guess the complaint that, that Julie had about it was that it doesn't meet all the requirements.
What is it?
For 674.39-A, voluntary merger.
So we didn't ask enough questions?
Yeah, apparently the issue really has to do with the fact that we don't ask a question around whether or not the properties are owned by the person who's merging them. So for example, if there's a mortgagee on them, you know, did they approve of it? You know, it's like, you know, obviously if you own both pieces of property outright, it's not a big deal, but say that the two properties are separate, you have two different mortgages on them, two different banks are associated with it. And we're not asking the questions, we're not finding out whether or not there may be an issue for some contention for the approval.
They need consent.
So, the Meredith form does ask all the questions. In fact, it asks more questions than it needs to. And we don't need to ask about liens or encumbrances. But we do need to ask about mortgages and written consent of each mortgage holder. So what I'd like to propose is that we take this markup and then create our own form with the modifications that Jason has looked at and said we should have. And then with a actual replica of what we think we'd like it to look like, then we can vote on it next month. Does that make sense? Is there anything that you're looking at here, when you're looking at the, you look at and say, I don't agree, or doesn't make sense?
No, it looks like by reading this, it's like clearly section 2 is the part that we're missing.
Yeah.
We got 1 and we got 3.
Yeah, we're good, we're half right. We get half a loaf on this. It's like we you know, we're like kids, you only read the first paragraph.
So the way I read this is he thinks we don't need number 5. Does not. Could you scratch off and put RSA next?
It doesn't require.
Does not establish being current as a requirement for voluntary merger.
Right. So, yeah, basically, the Meredith program it does everything and everything and everything. And what Jason did was he just pulled everything off that wasn't absolutely required by the RSA.
And it looks like 4 is being pared down to only talk about mortgages.
Yep.
Other than that,
And 5 is not there, you don't need it.
right.
Why is number 5 not, I mean, why should we take that out there? That's some, you know, the more reason we're in consensus has to do with, estate taxes.
No, all real estate taxes,
Oh, real estate taxes, don't we think we should make sure that they're up to date as far as that goes too before a merger's made?
Is it real estate tax or property tax? Aren't those two different taxes?
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I was looking at real estate meaning property. I wasn't looking at it.
He's just saying that the RSA does not.
the RSA is not, I mean, that would be an additional thing that it's not required by the RSA.
But when do you think it would be necessary?
It's not legally necessary.
When the owners of both,
Yeah, see, the RSA is what he's quoting, this RSA is not, it's not in there.
okay. What taxation credits, okay.
And I think his recommendation is that it's not required to put more in.
Yeah, well, don't put any more into the form than what you need to put into the form. For example, they require that the thing be notarized, and there's no requirement that it be notarized, as a for example.
Okay. They just have to sign
Of course, ours just says, property owner sign here.
Do we know what this also was referencing? Is that also just part of the same number 5 sentence?
it.
Or is he referencing this 2 and 3 here?
Oh, 2 and 3 in number five, in the RSA.
Yeah.
I still don't understand why the number 5 shouldn't be in there. The taxes need to be paid, and all municipal stuff current on all the lots. What happens if one of the lots hasn't paid their taxes?
Well, isn't there a process that the town clerk does if taxes aren't paid?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be what would need to be done. And if it's not done,
Then the lands shouldn't be merged together.
but then the taxes would still be owed.
Exactly.
Yeah, but what would be the difference? I mean, what does not paying your taxes have to do with merging two?
Well, if you're merging 2 lots, you want to make sure that both lots are, they're taxed and they're paid for before you merge them into one lot. Well, once suppose one lot they haven't paid their taxes, but they paid it on the other one.
it's not currently required in our form, it's not currently required by the law. And so that would be imposing on this form another part of the requirements. And
But if the lots are merged and taxes are owed on one lot, wouldn't it just transfer to the combined lot?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They're still in violation of owing taxes,
yeah, exactly, one way or the other.
one way or the other.
So you can merge them. What this is saying is, you can merge continuous lots,
Right,
even if
contiguous lots, yeah.
even if there's money owed on one, then the money's still owed.
And then we would have a tax lien on a larger property.
Yeah.
How would that be
That's a good
bad?
thing.
That would be a good thing, I would think. We'd have,
$5 more on.
I actually thought you always had to have, the owner had to be the same to merge two lots, but this is implying that two different people can merge one lot?
Mm,
no, the owners of the lots have
Be the same.
to agree. It could be you own one lot and Barbara owns the other lot, and you agree to merge
It
them.
says, except as set forth in paragraphs 2 or 3. Well, paragraph 2 says contiguous and identical ownership.
Oh, I think we just talking about that, because I have two lots,
Yeah,
and I have a mortgage on each lot,
yeah, we have 3, we're the same as you, we have 3 lots.
and we have a mortgage on each.
We don't have a mortgage on 2 of them. But it seems to me that by saying, except as set forth in paragraphs 2 or 3, it states they have to be identical ownership.
And the mortgage owner is the one that, when they're talking about, when they hold it, not owner, holder. So I have to notify the banks who hold the mortgage
Yeah,
that I'm combining.
yes,
That's what
and they would have to agree it,
They would have to agree. Got it, okay.
and that's what we're missing.
That's a big piece.
It is. All right,
Okay.
so. All right.
You want Julie to go ahead
Yeah, the other piece was the fees, and it seems that we have in the fees currently that, you know, are these okay fees? I don't know if the $12.63 and $4 each additional page.
In this day and age, that sounds very slim.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And a check payable to Town of Jackson for $36. For the
Yeah,
town office trouble.
Or each additional page, what does that mean? How many
It's-
pages are we talking about here?
Pages that have to be registered with the registry of deeds.
so there's likely 2 pages for this. So it'd be like $8.
So we need to check to make sure that that's the current rate.
Right, and my feeling is that those should be based on whatever the cost is. The $36 application fee is based on 1 hour of clerical time, assuming that that's how much it takes to process this. I think $36 is probably an old number,
Yeah.
especially with the inflation we've had and some of the adjustments, and we may need to jump that up. But I'm not sure what the exact rate number would be.
Well, the Julies probably know what 1 hour of their time is.
You think?
I would put in for $100.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
I want you to take care of my raise next year
I will.
on a percentage basis.
No, but if you look at the whole compensation package for anybody, it's more than just the
Oh, I know.
hourly wage. So I don't think that you'd be going over the top at $100.
Gee, I was thinking more like 60, but you know,
I agree with think it should be 100. I think
Okay.
we're still in
I
there.
was shooting for
Halfway
75.
between 80.
I was shooting for 75.
75, I heard 75.
What does that mean?
All right, 70.
I still think it should be 100. I see how hard they work in there.
We could compromise at 87.50.
I'm not sure how much time it takes for them to do this. But I'm sure it takes more than 10 minutes.
Well, it's gonna take us some time to type up the form again.
for sure. And we have, and you know how many of these we have. We have so many of these. This is the last one we had was our 7th one we've had in 7 years. So,
We're talking
It's
about
not
a
like it.
large amount of money.
so this is not exact, I mean, comparatively, there are some towns that, the fees that are charged have to pay for the salaries for the 3 people who service the planning
Yeah.
board's function.
Interesting, in theirs, they don't actually tell you what the fees are.
The land use office.
And she did provide us with the Carroll County document fees and the $12.63 and the $4 is still the fee for the county.
Yeah.
So that is not
So the only number you wanna change is the application fee.
Yep, the $36.
Going once, going, no. What do we agree to? What do you want to do? Guys, come on.
I think 75 is fair. It's
Yeah,
doubling, it's doubling the rate.
75, yeah.
It's doubling the rate, basically, almost.
Yeah, I think 36 was taken then. We haven't updated that for like ever.
Yeah, okay. 75.
75, going once, going twice. We don't need to vote on that, I don't think. So, all right,
So
75.
who approves that?
Hmm?
Who approves that?
Us.
Oh, okay, so it doesn't have to go to the select board, right?
No, this, we set, it's in our mandate that we set the fees.
We set fees,
Okay.
yeah.
It's our responsibility and requirement to do so.
We could each of us go door to door in the community and
Well, you know, if we said $250, we might get some pushback. But I think 75 is probably reasonable. I think 100's kind of piggish.
Stay under the 3 digits, you know?
But they don't make a $75 bill. Now, they make a $100 bill, and that would be really easy to pass over the counter.
Okay, Dick, that shows your age because nobody uses dollar bills anymore.
I do.
Oh, that's true.
Everybody uses debit cards. Pretty soon we're not gonna have money.
As long as we don't put those
All right.
pennies out there. And I think it should be rounded up. Whatever the amount is, should be rounded up to the nearest dollar.
I was gonna say, you can't do that.
Well, filing fee, $12.63, where do you get that one?
That's, talk to your county commissioners, because that's set by the county. That fee is set, $12.63.
All right, are we good
Oh,
with
here it
this?
is, it's a reason, here. It's, the $12.63 is based on $10 recording fee, $2 surcharge, and 63 cents postage.
Is that updated to 2023?
It's just, yeah, I
Okay,
mean, they just gave it to us, so.
okay.
Postage really 63 cents, not a mail note.
55 for a forever stamp. Now,
I only buy the forever stamps for the store, so I have no idea how much I pay.
Okay.
I haven't bought a stamp since forever.
I want to make sure that the postmen have a job.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're good on this?
Mhm.
mhm.
Any further discussion? We can move on?
Let's talk about that capital improvement plan.
Yeah, the capital improvement plan. Guys, it's a capital improvements program, or CIP, or a capital improvements program will do a capital improvements plan, and it's improvements, it's plural, not singular. So, just to get a set for everybody to properly say it, use it, and we'll go forward. So that's similar to what the state government suggests they are.
So we haven't been right on even that since 2005 either, because they're all called plans.
I'm not going back and looking to past history of what they did or did not do correctly. I'm trying to look forward
So
about
it's
what we
called
can do
program,
well.
program in the RSA?
Pardon?
It's called program in the RSA?
It is.
Okay. So,
It's called the Capital Improvements Program that you get authorized to. But you can, I think it's okay to say that you're creating a plan within the program. All right, if we're going to do one of those, then, and we get authorized to do it, I guess I'd like to begin to think about what we want to do for organization. The minimum requirement is that there is a planning board member on the program. It is often recommended that all the members of the planning board be on the committee. How do you want to proceed? What do you think? Everybody want to be a part?
we should, I think it'd be a good idea, so you divvy up the work,
Yep.
instead of one or two people doing all the work.
I think we should give anybody who doesn't want to be on it the opportunity to say, gee, thanks, but no thanks? Yes, no, or should it
What
be
if
there?
everyone says, gee, thanks, but no thanks?
Well, thanks, guys. I don't think I get everybody here to say yes or no. What do you think? You think we should just have it so that the whole
Yep.
Yeah, I think
planning
so.
board is?
Yep.
And what about the rest of the group? How do you think we should do that? Obviously, we're gonna have somebody who's a select person is going to be a part of our organization by default. And hopefully the person they assign to us in April will be a little bit more consistent about attending. And that will be
It's,
good.
who's running? It's,
Bob Thompson.
Bob Thompson, yeah.
He was a selectman before.
So, whomever, but who else should be on it? Couple of things that, looking through generally the capital improvements program is for the municipal entity expenditures. However, it can be structured to include understanding what the school board requirements are. And so they are also possibly able to be members if we so choose to have them, or have a representative.
Come and talk to all of us?
Pardon?
Come and talk to all of us? Is that what you mean? Somebody from the school board come and talk to the
Well, yeah, we can do that, but in terms of having somebody be a member of the committee, the actual membership of the committee. I mean,
Oh, yeah, I understand what you mean.
the committee should be more than just the planning board.
Oh, definitely.
And so I guess I'm looking at who else should be,
Well, at one time, we had a selectman assigned to, to the fire department. And the chief of the fire department would come and talk to the selectmen, what their needs and their wants were. Same thing with the school, same thing with the road crew. And don't know if that might have fallen by the wayside as time goes on, but that's the way so it's direct contact with the people that know how much things are gonna cost, how much, because they're the people that know the most.
yeah,
And, that's the way it was supposed to be.
yeah, well, okay, so there's gonna be a difference between for example, the committee's going to want to have people come talk to us, or we're gonna
Yes.
wanna have, but I guess the question is, who do we want to have as the sitting committee? If we're saying that the planning board and who should be the other.
Maybe it
Does
is.
it have to be more than the planning board? Because you can have planning board members who are then in contact with the different.
It doesn't have to be, that's what I'm saying,
The way we did it before, was whether it was the 202 or the 209, was that each member of the planning board, took up the responsibility to talk to a particular agent. One person to do the highway department, another one to do the police and fire. And
I
so
did it for the school. I
Right.
went and talked to
Mhm.
the principal of the school and Ann Bennett,
Mhm.
what the things were, what they needed and everything else.
Right.
But, and then they all compiled something for me and I brought it back to the planning board.
Yeah, I guess my question is that do we, we need people to buy in whatever we're gonna come up with. And if we say this is the planning board is the committee, then we're taking on an awful large role in the process, and we're saying we've done all the right due diligence. If we don't have people who are not planning board members on the committee, then there may be people who have agendas, one way or the other, good agendas, bad agendas, but agendas that may help us, inform us better than we might be as, the way that it has been done in the past. What I've looked at is that many of the towns that do this have a committee that is more than just a planning board.
Can we open it, I mean, because it looked like we did it last time, can we open it up to the public?
Well, it cannot be just open to the public. I mean, you can get input from the public. I mean, we can do a lot of.
You can't have non-planning board or departments.
Well,
on the committee.
what you're deciding is that you're deciding that what your makeup is of your group. And so the planning board can ask or have additional people besides themselves to do it. I guess my question is, does it make sense for us to do that? To make a decision to add a couple of extra people in?
But who are you talking about, who the extra people
I
are?
don't even know who they are.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because, again, this is the 2009, it said you had interested residents on the committee. Do you remember who those people were? I mean, I can show you the list of.
I don't remember that either.
It said you had that, so, that's why I asked, I said.
Didn't the interested residents represent certain factions within the town? Like, let's say the principal of the school would nominate someone or pick someone to be on the planning board.
Or not on the planning
On the
board.
committee.
Yeah, or whatever, yeah, I mean, on
For
this
what-
committee.
Program, yeah.
For what reason?
Just,
I mean, if we go and talk to them like I went to
well,
talk
to
to
use,
school.
to say what Bill says, that if they are part of the whole committee, then they hear the other issues that are going on within the town.
Right.
To give them a perspective that
Well, that's
there's,
just something we opened up to the public at one time, after we got all the information from the different departments. I mean, that's the best way to do it.
I'm not arguing for any one way right now. What I'm asking is,
yeah,
what do you guys think?
Okay?
Can I interject here?
Dick.
The facilities committee that was formed is still functioning. Now, they've broken down their areas, and one of them is the Gray's Inn Garage. So, what are we gonna do with that? If we could engage somebody from that aspect of the facilities committee to come in and join us with their ideas, I think that would be one avenue of getting more people from outside engaged in our process.
All right.
The way it's written here is that those contributing to the committee's work were the members, and then, which were the planning board essentially. And then there's also department heads. These are contributing to the work. In other words, they provided the information that went into the capital improvement.
Oh, I thought it said planning board and interested residents. I don't know.
Yeah, and
But the interested residents don't know the bottom line as far as the money goes. It's the school, whether the school gets a new addition to it, or whether, whether we get a new fire department or go with the old fire department. And all that breaks down to is money. That's what the taxpayers want to know, how much something's gonna cost. And there's nobody that knows that better, like Jay, how much a new fire truck's gonna
Yep.
cost. He knows how much that's gonna cost. And the same thing with the new truck, which they get every 5 years, whatever time period is, whatever. And then they come to the selectmen and say, okay, 5 years is up, this is what it's gonna cost the town. Bottom line is, people wanna know how much something's gonna cost.
Yeah.
And like I said, nobody knows this information better than the school principal, or the fire department, or the highway crew. And I understand about this feasibility study that went on, and what are we gonna do with, but that's a whole different ballgame, what are we gonna do with the old garage?
all right, I'm playing devil's advocate here for a reason, okay?
Okay.
And the reason I'm doing that is because we have not received authorization yet. And if we're gonna do this, we're gonna have to do this by going Article 11 on the town meeting to say we've got additional business to come before. And the way that it's set in the RSA is that if no direction is made, it is the planning board's responsibility, and we would be the committee. However, at the meeting, people could say, we don't want just the planning board to be. We want it to also include members of the town.
Isn't this the same reason why the executive branch of the government has a committee?
Yeah.
The cabinet. So the president's just not making all the decisions, but making them in conjunction with, all the various housing and
But
board.
the department heads will have to, well, to me, the department heads are automatically involved. They don't have an option.
They don't have an option, right?
They're in.
But should they be a formal member of the committee? I guess that's what Bill's asking.
What I'm asking is, I'm trying to figure out whether or not we're gonna see, we need to be prepared if there's flack coming at this authorization process, where somebody brings this up and says, I don't want it just to be the planning board, I want it to be the planning board and a group of 10 people that the select board approves.
Mhm.
And so we're gonna be in an open forum. And if we're not prepared to understand what the possibilities are, we're not going to answer the questions correctly.
Mhm.
What I hear you saying is that your preference is to be a planning board and have it be planning board only. And that we will do the work. I mean, it's gonna be work, and it's more work to make sure we do that. And it's gonna be our group, not our group plus 6 other people. Normally it's the select board that does the warrant article that would create whatever the formation of that is. If we're going into an open forum on this, we have to be prepared to know what the other opportunities are.
I think you're opening up a whole can of worms. I think it should just be the planning board. And like I said before, I think that the department heads, Jay comes and talks to us, and Kevin Bennett comes and talks to us about stuff that needs to be done in the town, and they have a plan. the road crew does already. I mean, they do certain roads, they go around and see which town roads need to be replaced, and they do them every year, every 2 years, or whatever it is.
Yep,
And they're the ones that have the information that we need.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I don't disagree with, everything you're saying. I'm trying to set us up for the opportunity for somebody who's not us to say something different. And if we're in this forum and that format of process to get our authorization, someone may mention it, and what we need to be able to do is say what you're just saying, that we feel that we as a planning board can do this and will be able to accomplish that. And the way we'll be able to accomplish that is by having listening posts and all the other good things. We're going to do the appropriate interrogations, if you will, of each of the, pardon?
Interviews.
I won't put interrogation in that.
Interviews. Of the, and do all the data gathering that's necessary. We can do that.
And if there's interested people, townspeople who want to help, who are offering to help and to help with the data gathering, to help share the work.
Didn't we just have a feasibility study for that reason, and there was like too many people involved with the whole thing? And it got, you know, to be a wish list of what they would like to have. And I don't think the planning board should be in it at all. I think it should be between the selectmen and the department heads, because they're the bottom line that has to approve the money. And then bring it to the town and say, hey, listen, it's gonna cost you an additional $100,000 for that new truck. What does the town wanna do about it? And that's at the town meetings. So,
The whole thing about the capital improvements plan is trying to spread out these large
amounts of money, I understand that.
amounts of money,
Yeah.
and so all we're doing is saying, okay, you wanna have a new truck for $100,000, and you want to buy that truck in 2030. Okay, so in the years between now and 2030, we'll set aside in a capital reserve. plan.
Exactly, then that's
And
what we've
that's,
always
and that's
done.
all we're doing is saying,
Yes.
okay, we get all of these requests, and we'll try to figure out how we can spread out, you know, the paying for it, in other words, saving ahead with the capital reserve fund. And we're not saying it's gonna happen, we're just saying this is a way this is a plan,
But we
that
already-
you can do, the way you can do it, and it won't cause the tax rate to gyrate every year.
But we already do it that way.
No,
But we need a plan for
the
everything.
plan that we have has not been updated since 2009.
Oh, I understand that.
What we are looking at is not to create a brand-new plan. We are amending the plan that is there.
Yeah.
And our job as a planning board is to plan. And that is, we are supposed to be providing assistance to the select board to ensure that our tax rates are not going to all of a sudden skyrocket any one particular year. And we have a plan for how we're gonna, our expenditures. It is not one, as you say, it's not one that they have to adopt even. It is a recommendation. It is simply out there as a guidepost for them to look at and say, yeah, these are the things we ought to do. This year, when we're doing our warrant articles, we need to put these 6 items in for capital reserves for these items that are according to the capital improvements plan. And if we do that, then we'll not affect the tax rate severely any one particular year. And the whole idea of the thing is also to bring in to the program the idea of what's going to be expended on the school board side.
I have all the information for you, I just don't have it with me today, I thought I had it all in here. I had my son give it to me, how much it was gonna cost for the town, how much it was gonna cost for the school, and all the money that was involved with it. And how breaking it down to bonds or to whatever it is, and I thought I had it with me, and I don't.
Well, and that's all great stuff.
Yeah,
And, and so it's something that, again, we need to look at and say, hey, they're gonna be doing this, and oh, by the way, you know, whatever we do with the fire station, whatever the timing of that is, you don't want to time, you know, a $2 million charge with a $500,000 charge. But you may end up saying, yeah, it's okay, we can do 300,000 here and 400,000 there. And that makes sense or not. And
Jerry had it all laid out for me, I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. We don't need it tonight for sure. We have a whole year to do this.
We aren't authorized to do it.
We are authorized to even look at this.
We don't even want to see it.
We don't want us to, yeah, I mean, it'd be illegal.
Hold on to it,
Okay.
don't lose it.
Son Jerry gave me all that information.
We can't hear you.
Okay.
But at the end of, and again, it's interesting that that amendment is, that RSA is at the back of, I don't know if it's the back of that one, but it's on the back of this one. And I think it has been amended, because this reads different than what you showed us, than 2002. But it sounds like the select board is the one that makes the decision,
Exactly.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely.
We're
right?
just doing the work for them.
No, makes the decision on who the committee is and who does the program.
That would be if they did a warrant article.
I know, but you're worried, because what I'm hearing you're worried about is, we're in a public room, throwing something out to the public
Yeah,
without anything written that they can vote on and been decided on. And
what it says,
What-
our two choices, the two choices are that the select board can either choose, if it's authorized by the, it can either be done, normally in the warrant article, you'd specify.
you would specify it, or silent,
And if it's silent, it's the planning board.
automatic.
We don't have that. That's
So
what I'm
what I'm
saying.
saying is, we're gonna, I assume one of us, or I'm voting on Bill, to announce this, right?
Yeah, well, bring it up.
Bring it up. The select board puts it out to a vote, and all they're voting on is, are we're
No.
gonna do on it.
Jerry Dougherty is going to
Well, I'm
be
saying-
putting it up for a vote.
Right.
No, he's not.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, husband Jerry.
Yeah.
Moderator, I'm sorry.
So,
That,
but
yes.
all that vote
Oh,
will
that was
be,
about 15 minutes ago.
but all that vote will deal with is the approval of doing it, or amending it. Not who it is,
Right.
or not who's
Just-
sitting on it,
Just
right?
that it's done,
The
Exactly.
authorization for
Yes.
us to do it,
Yes.
right.
have it done,
Mhm.
okay?
Good.
At that point, I thought, what I'm hearing from you to say is, you're concerned someone's gonna stand up and say, who's going to do it?
And I don't agree that it should
And-
just be the planning board.
Well, somebody from the select board has to say, well, no, we're gonna have the planning board do it, and then they're gonna go, I don't think it should be just the planning board, I wanna be on it.
Right.
And how are we gonna answer that
I have no
question?
idea.
No, I'm saying, is that's, to me, that's what
That-
you're
that's
concerned
my-
with.
Yeah, that's my concern, yeah.
And so you say, so I want to help, we'll be happy to have you help, please,
I think we
Give
just
your
need to be
name and
prepared for
contact
that.
and
That's
everything.
all I'm saying.
Yeah,
is
I
that we need to know what it is. We need to answer legitimately that we think as a planning board, we are capable of managing the process as the planning board to do this, and we're willing to accept the responsibility.
and we're willing to, if a voluntary help, we're willing to accept
Yeah.
that as well.
Well, that's to me, it's two different things. If we're
The
willing to
planning
accept
board-
people
The
do it.
planning board has the responsibility. If anybody wants to help us to meet our responsibility, great,
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm in favor of
But
that.
who picks those people?
they pick themselves.
What happens
And then
when
the
people
board
have an
is- the
agenda,
selectmen
I
have
hate
to
the school,
approve
I
it.
wanna close the school down. You
Yeah,
know, that's what their
I mean, if
main
you're talking
objective
about
is.
interested citizens.
Right.
Let's say 25 interested citizens appear.
You can be
The board of
like that.
selectmen, according to that RSA page.
They make the decision.
Approve it.
Okay, well, that's my only question, is who makes the decision of who the interested people are who can participate in the
All right,
process?
I'll read the municipalities may authorize either the planning board or a special CIP committee to work on the CIP. If the warrant article is silent on this issue, it is assumed that the planning board will do it. Alternatively, the article may provide for a CIP committee appointed by the governing body, which is the select board. And the committee must include at least one member of the planning board in May, but isn't required to include other members of the planning board and other local officials. It is important to note that the planning board cannot grant itself the authority to prepare a CIP. The authorization must come from the legislative body, being the town meeting. We can have subcommittees, we can have subcommittees up the yin yang.
Sure.
And that's where we could, I mean, so to answer, what I think is, when that question comes up, the select board needs to say, no, we're saying the planning board.
Yes.
They're the ones that.
Exactly so. We
Receive
need,
that
it
argument versus us.
needs to be, it needs to say that it's going to be the planning board, or that it's not going to be a special CIP committee, I guess is the best way.
Correct.
So, is a negative a positive? I don't know.
I mean, I can
Or we talk about COVID-19, negative is positive.
get prep the select board to make sure that they.
All right,
So-
we've beaten this horse dead, I think. But I think we want to make sure that we get it to the point where it is the planning board and not a CIP committee. And that's what I'll ask for. I need to be prepared to say it correctly. And I will be. But I want to make sure, I wanted to hear you guys say what you wanted first. So I'm asking for the right things?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
you did.
I'd just like to point out that on page 31 of the town report, there is a chart entitled Variable Capital Improvement List. And it lists all the way down, requests from the fire department, highway department, and other, police department, town office. And it has items that they want, and it has numbers for each of the items, which are then placed in one of the columns. The heading of each column is a different year going at. So that's kind of maybe the very beginning, and of this, making the plan goes up to 2030. So.
Where on page is that on?
Page 31. It's in the-
Yeah, and from the work that we'll have to do, we're gonna have to look at the adequacy of what's there. We're gonna have to look to see what additional items ought to be there, and we ought to understand what kinds of things have not been contemplated at all.
Well, needs and wants.
Yeah, and I think the last time, even when we did this informally, Dick and Kathy, when we, back in 18, we looked at this, and you guys weren't getting a lot of traction on it.
Well, COVID was going on, and nobody knew what the prices were
Well,
gonna be.
yeah.
That's what the town people wanna know. How much is it gonna cost me? What's the bottom line, and how much my taxes are gonna go up?
Exactly so, yes. So
Those
it's
are
like,
things all have to be addressed.
so it's like, and we will need to go through the process,
Mhm.
and but it's one that, if you do it well, I'm not sure about you guys, but when we think about how we're gonna spend our money, but we have budgets and we decide when we can spend money, when we can't spend money, when we can splurge a little bit, when we can't. But we do it based on an understanding of what our requirements are. And yet occasionally there's a tree that falls down that you have to get rid of and it costs you $1,000 that you didn't plan on. But having that in place makes it a lot easier to sleep at night for me. And I think that's what you'd like to have in place for your town.
Right.
I think when we had a $5 million and a $250,000 open-ended switch on the school, all being proposed at the same time, everyone went, oh!
Mhm.
Wait a minute. What are you
Yeah.
gonna use all this money for?
And what are we doing? You know, committing to some $5, $6, maybe $7 million worth of expenditures with an open-ended switch. Well, it doesn't feel good.
Right, but in that defense, all that money that they talked about in that warrant article was talked about at every one of their board meetings and every one of their budget meetings. So it's, again, who's involved along the path. It wasn't like they did it in the closet and then
I'm not,
popped it on the
what I-
table and said, oh, by the way, we went $500.
I'm not
So-
suggesting that anything was wrong with what everybody did.
But, right, that's why I think we have to have people buy in on this that are not on, so it doesn't, at some point, a subcommittee,
We're gonna have our work cut out.
yeah, subcommittee, people need to be
Hmm.
opportunity. I know you have hearings about it, you have,
And we need to be realistic. I mean, if the fire station has to be replaced, if it has to be replaced, what is it really going to cost? And
$800,000, so I have all that information for us, $8 million. And,
and where do you get the money? And is it, you know,
and do we really need
and
it?
do we really need
It
it?
looks really cute the way it is, to tell you the truth.
Uh,
And, but anyway, that's beside the point.
But you know what I'm saying,
Yes, I know.
if you find that, you know, it's got termites and
But they've
whatever.
already investigated all that till the cows come home. Jay has they had a whole committee over there,
Right.
a whole fire, well, Barbara's involved with
Yeah.
it. How
but
much
nobody
things,
showed up.
yes, and how much things are gonna cost, and do we spread it out with a bond issue? Do we do it through the taxes? I mean, all that stuff was discussed.
Yeah,
And, I had all the information, but I need way to bring it.
no, and that's part of,
And the same
that's
thing
part
with
of what we'll look at.
Yes,
And-
and
and-
same thing with the highway crew. And they do allow, you know, okay, and same thing with the school. Now, okay, we need to have another school bus in 5 years or 10 years, so let's plan on it. And they put money out for it, so it isn't a big income at all at once.
It's not like we aren't doing this. The question is, are we doing it complete? Have we done it in a while? No. And
Well, I understand the reason for doing it.
I'm not suggesting we're starting from scratch.
Yep.
We already have a thing that's in place that's worked so well apparently that we haven't considered changing it for 14 years.
Well, the problem is that it only goes up through 2015.
Yeah. So we just need to change the date.
Well, no, you change all the items that are in it
Yeah.
with the right dates. You just do the same process,
Yeah.
but you got new data.
Uh-huh.
We're not reinventing the wheel.
Correct.
I'm not
We have
suggesting.
And you gotta factor in inflation. I'm on another committee and these two projects that were just submitted in today's dollars, they're $4.6 million, but these accountants figured out that by the time the project is done in 9 years, it's gonna be double that.
Yes.
So
and that's-
anticipating that's what your real end cost. This
Exactly.
4.6 is actually gonna be 7.3
Mhm.
when the day comes that it's finished.
Yeah.
That's how much money you're gonna have to actually
Yeah.
spend to it. And,
And that's all just a guesstimate, and it's hard to do that.
yeah, no, they're just,
Yeah.
they're causing inflation,
Yep.
so.
All right.
it's
I'm
gonna-
not trying to come up with the answers tonight. That's not what our goal is tonight.
Bill, if I forget to tell Jerry, before the meeting, we go to him and speak, and tell him you want to speak at the end of the meeting.
Yes.
Okay, tell him, try to remember to do it when I get home.
How about you send him an email and copy me? Or I can send you an email. I don't know, I think I may have Jerry's email.
You call him on the phone, talk to him for crying out loud.
I want to have it in writing though, so he knows.
I'll remind him.
All right. More discussion, anything else? Just FYI, we did get for next month's meeting. We've had a request for a pre-application hearing for a subdivision.
Where?
Ooh.
Your copy. Yeah, with the email. And it includes affordable housing.
Where,
Hmm?
where?
On Route 16. Or off Route 16.
Where?
That
Okay.
Be interesting to see.
See if they asked if they could approach the town, and so I looked up the subdivision regulations, and under section 5.01 of subdivision regulations, they can do a pre-application hearing, which requires no notice. They've said that's what they want to do, so I'll hear back, see if the date works well for them, but that would be next.
I hope it's legit as opposed to being a con job.
Excuse me?
I said, I hope it's legit and not being a con job.
It is somebody who lives in town.
It doesn't matter.
Cool.
It happened over when my daughter lives over in New York, over in Lake George area. They came before the planning board and they said it's gonna be affordable housing and all the rest of the stuff. It had been like a resort area, and next thing you know, $500,000 is not affordable.
Yeah.
But they conned the planning board into granting it, thinking it was going to be. That's the only reason I mentioned it, just to be aware of what really can be out there. I hope it's not, is what I'm saying.
I'm thinking that it's not,
Okay.
but you're right.
Mhm.
Someone can come at it and say, this is what I want to do, and this is why I want to do it, and then,
Mhm. So it'll be interesting at next meeting.
so we listen.
Yes.
Just to say,
I think we've done this before.
We have.
What's that?
well, I was a senior.
I think we've gone through the process before of just having a hearing and giving our best opinion.
Oh,
It's not, cast in stone. We're not giving an approval, but it's an initial discussion.
no, yeah, no, it's, in fact, it seems that when the last time these regulations were modified, that the fellow just putting his hat on right now was sitting in this chair.
No, you've had people come with conceptual.
No, for the subdivision regs were last revised in 2015, and
Oh, okay.
according to the listing, the current members of the board, you were an alternate,
Mhm.
you were a member, Dick was chair, and Scott was a member.
So I think the change is as far as.
Affordable housing is such a nebulous term,
Right.
you know.
Well, it's
But it's
defined.
If you're building.
We don't really care whether it's affordable or not, it's subdivision,
No, I
and then
understand.
we
I
look
understand.
at if there's anything specific
No,
to
just
it that will
before you
allow
point.
us.
Yes,
If you're building affordable housing in Telluride, Colorado,
right,
it
right.
might be $500,000 or $800,000.
Actually, Jim, is defined in our,
It is defined.
It is
Affordable
defined
housing is
in our,
defined by
our
us.
zoning.
Well,
30% of your income
yeah,
is considered affordable. There's only, I just read the story, there's only 20% of the houses in this country are classified as affordable,
really.
based on that definition. 20% of all houses.
This is all over the country, what's going on with it.
That's what I'm saying, it's
Just
across the
here.
country, affordable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, it's coming attractions, so, something for, do I hear a motion to adjourn? I have a motion to adjourn, second?
Second.
Third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
I did.
Thank